Hi. If you know me, then yeah. And if you don't know me, then I'm Carry On Reviewing. Nice to meet you. Thanks for watching this. Might as well get that out of the way. Now, I've got a story just for you. And I've got to set this on a good old Thursday. Believe me, it was actually Thursday. You can't call me out on that. And on this particular Thursday, I decided I wanted to go to a place called the Isle of Wight. It's just off the south of England. It's an island, believe it or not, hence the name, the Isle of Wight. Funny that. But what I thought was going to be a good old day out to see one of my good mates turned into a day of pain, annoyance, and quite frankly, giving up quite often. So, here's how my day went. It started like any normal day. I woke up. And I got, myself ready, went out, got the bus into the local town to go to the ferry port. Now, for legal reasons, even though it wouldn't affect me just yet, I'm not going to say which ferry company this is, but if they're watching and they're aware of the situation, they know exactly who they are, and they have themselves to blame for this, not me. So I get my boat out to good old Isle of Wight up in the morning. Leaves at 9. This boat gets delayed. Well, I say it gets delayed. It wasn't delayed per se, it was just a bit late leaving the port because somehow a bus of ancient variety broke down. It's a bit ironic, that. And so they couldn't really let on the foot passengers for about a bit like, 20 minutes longer. It was a boring wait. But anyway, I get on the ferry, that goes all over. The ferry there was fine. Apart from the little delay, that was fine. I go about my day, hang out with my mate, we do stuff around the island, go sit in front of a seaside and look at a tower down a place that I do not like to talk about because it's a rival town. If you know, you know. PO postcodes go off now. Anyway, so we go about our day talking, catching up on stuff that we've missed, and then the day comes to an end. It gets to about 5:30 in the afternoon, and I'm starting to think, right, I need to make sure I start going back to the port that to get home. Catch my ferry home, of course. So, I get the app for the ferry up, and I see, get this right, my ferry, due to leave at 6:30, so, they say be there 10-15 minutes beforehand, my ferry at 6:30, cancelled. If I hadn't looked at that app, I wouldn't have known that, which is funny, because the day before, I was set to, go off in the morning. They were like, we've had one of our ferries break down and it's undergoing maintenance. Fair enough. My question is, why does that company not have backup ferries? Just a thought, let's be real. And so, the day before they had sent me a message saying, oh, if you're getting an early morning ferry around 8, 9 o'clock, then, there might be, delay in departure or potential cancellation. So I was like, okay, fair enough, heads up. I checked my boat in the morning anyway, it was fine, I didn't get cancelled. The one before me did, but my boat was fine. Anyway, the boat I was going to get home, cancelled. I had not a singular message, email, anything, notification to say, oh yeah, just a heads up, the boat you want to get back home is cancelled. I swear to God, I was not happy. I was like, oh well, fine, I'll wait. I'll wait the extra hour. I've got a few mates here now at this point, so it's just like more time with them. I'm not complaining, would anyone? So 7:30 rolls round because that's an hour later from when my original boat was meant to set sail off. If you aren't keeping track, so 7:30 comes around. I'm at the port, the terminal thing, at about 7:20. And, they start letting the foot passengers on. One majorly bad problem on that. The Captain Security Man was only allowed to let 16 people on. 16. And you know why that is? Because everyone in a car or a vehicle whose ferry beforehand got cancelled, just like mine, got on this ferry. I was unfortunate enough to not get on this ferry. I was not allowed on. And from great understanding, you could probably believe I was just a little bit annoyed. Just a tiny bit annoyed by this information. I wasn't entirely, tiny annoyed. I was massively annoyed. In fact, you could even say I was a certain word that I'm not going to say right now, but, I was a bit miffed. Customer services as a normal person. Turns out they were closed at 7 o'clock. It was 7:30. Of course they're closed. Because that just makes perfect sense. So, what do you think I wanted? Well, I wanted a refund and compensation, neither of which I could get, and it turns out the compensation they do if your boat is delayed or cancelled, you get a free hot drink. Gotta love a Costa on the boat, innit? Anyway. So, not being that on, this just causes fury, so, I ring up people. They're not happy with it. So I've now got to wait about half an hour more to get on the next boat. And now I'm still with my friends, and I ended up sitting outside because I was just upset at this point. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this had me slightly contemplating my existence on this perfect earth. That's a lie, this earth is far from perfect. But, I sat there and my friends comforted me. I was like, yeah, you know what, your classmates, I love that. So, what happens? The next boat comes pretty quickly, must I say. Like, I was not expecting its speed to have come that fast. And so, I wait, and I'm waiting here for like 20 minutes. All the people have come off, all the cars have come off, all the cars have gone on. We're still waiting like 10 more minutes, because this is the way this ferry works. For some reason, it aggravates me. Deeply aggravates me. Look at my lips. Aggravates me. Anyway. So finally, the person to let us on the boat comes on, and what does he do? He lets me on. So, I get the boat home. I'm happy. I'm sat there. I'm sat on my, I'm sat on the boat. I'm sat, I'm on my phone. My mobile data's still working somehow. That makes no sense it's not a really big bit of water, I can still see land either side. But it's like, okay, cool, I've got mobile data, I'll take that, So I'm sat there listening to Mario Kart 64 soundtrack. Believe me, I have taste in music, using the Nintendo Music app because...
It's me, Mario!
...online membership, like, come on, I'm paying like 10 quid by accident. That's a different story. Trust me, CD keys is useful. Not all the time when you're making purchases though. Just saying. That's irrelevant. So, I get home, it's about 10 o'clock by the time I walk through the front door, and I'm relieved. But what makes my day even better? Pizza. I had been brought pizza from the takeaway. I was like, this is class. So I sit down, I'll chill for a little bit, go and call my new mates, and that was the end of the day. I was happy to be home, to be honest. I've never been off the mainland, of England, apart from the time I went to Spain for holiday, but that's different. That's a holiday. This is like two different places. Like, the Isle of Wight is known as a government experiment sometimes. Not really, it's just, jokes these days. There is my dramatically not really thrilling tale of the annoyance of a ferry service. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you did like me ramble on for about 8 straight minutes, please maybe consider liking this video, subscribing. I might actually post more content here. Will it be stupid stories like this? Not entirely. Maybe you'll get some actual reviews of stuff, or longer reviews, or maybe even a special video. That sounds incredibly wrong, that I said it like that. Jesus Christ, what was the hand motion with that as well? Anyway, that's all from me. Have a good time.